Yeah. Then okay, I forgot to write the principles, although I discussed. We always discuss more things, but we write less, I think, on the board. Sometimes, you tend to forget it. Anyway, like say translation or the use of mother tongue is discouraged. This is because this method, I'm repeating, I'm saying that it is akin to the direct method. It is related to the direct method, as it has emerged from the direct method. So same as in the direct method, even in the audio-lingual method, translation or use of the native tongue is discouraged. You write it, or else you forget it. Translation or the use of mother tongue or the native language, you may say. Mother tongue or native language, same thing. Mother tongue is discouraged. Take them down, because I would rub them off. Yes, the audio-lingual method occurred as a reaction to the perceived failures of grammar translation method. You may say it's a total contrast to the grammar translation method. It forbids the use of mother tongue. Mother tongue is kept out of the room. It forbids the use of mother tongue and prioritize listening and speaking skills over reading and writing. Okay, what skills are given priority? Spoken skills are given priority, or say reading skills are given priority. Spoken and listening skills. Okay, the first two skills, listening and speaking, L plus S, listening plus speaking, they are given priority. How? Because they listen to the teacher, they listen to the felicitator, they listen to the instructor, and students then repeat after him. So what skills are given priority? Listening and speaking. And say over what two skills are left? Reading and writing. They are secondary. Reading and writing are secondary in this method. And say grammar is taught inductively. Even in direct method, grammar is taught inductively. Even in the audio-lingual method, grammar is taught inductively. What do I mean by this? Grammar is taught inductively, or inductive teaching of grammar. Grammar is taught inductively. Yes?
The rules are not taught to the students.
The rules are not taught. Where rules are taught? In grammar translation method, rules are taught. That is why, students were taught through the mother tongue, where the medium of instruction is mother tongue. Such students are good at grammar. I mean grammatical rules, but they are not good at the spoken form, spoken English. So grammar is taught inductively, you're right. Students infer or say deduce the rules of the language through practice. So the approach to the teaching of grammar is essentially inductive, as in the direct method. Grammatical explanations are kept to a minimum. Grammatical explanations are kept to a minimum. They are not told, well, this is simple present, this is simple past, or this is simple future. No, they are not told. They learn it. They learn grammar as an integral part of the syllabus. Like stories are taught, okay, or lessons are taught, and it is infused there in the lesson, and they deduce the rules themselves. They infer the rules themselves. What do the students do? They understand the rules themselves. Are you following what I am saying?
Yes, sir.
There is no teaching of formal grammar. Formal grammar is not taught formally as a separate subject, but students or learners, they deduce the rules, they infer the rules themselves. They learn the rules or words in the context. So this is important. And yes, you may say in a way that all the four skills of learning, all the four all the four skills. All the four skills, L plus S plus R plus W. All the four skills are given emphasis or importance, or given emphasis or say importance. Whatever. The teacher treats all the four skills equally and teach them separately. Okay, he teaches them separately. Listening, like when students are made to listen, then he would just read them out. Okay, read the sentence himself or read the poem himself over and over again, unless until students know how to read the poem themselves. So listening comes first. So he teaches listening, then he teaches reading. What does he teach? Speaking. Then the students are asked to speak out what is the what they are listening. Like teacher is saying, elephant is a huge animal. Then all students would say, elephant is a huge animal. They would say it 5 times until it becomes a habit forming process. Means until they have learned that elephant is a huge animal. But here I would say that they have only learned, or they have learned to say, to utter that elephant is a huge animal. But if you ask them, well, what does it mean? They won't be able to tell. Because meaning is told afterwards. First, they are just learned to speak the sentences. Elephant is a huge animal. It has got a big trunk. Elephant has 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 got big ears. It has got big ears. This is how. So all the four skills are emphasized. But I would say that dialogues, utterances, and say correct sentences, correct everyday sentences, everyday dialogues have the dominant role to play. Although they claim, they say that all the four skills are emphasized, are given due emphasis, but still I would say that the first two skills, they have predominance. Okay, they have predominance. Means they have the dominant role to play in the audio-lingual method. Reading and writing work, you may say, is based on earlier oral work, or like while teacher was reading out and they were listening to him, or they were made to speak, so they were given practice in the oral work, they were given the oral drills. So on the basis of oral drill, homework is given to them. Okay, they know that elephant is a big animal. Now they would go and write it 10 times. The elephant is a big animal, the elephant is a big animal in their sheet. So they would learn writing later on. Okay, or it is given as home assignment. It's not taught, say there in the classroom. If the class is taught through this method, audio-lingual method. And teacher, provides the students with a native speaker-like model. Native speaker-like model. If a teacher can speak with a native speaker-like model, if he can speak like native speakers of English, then it's fine. It's fair enough. But if he doesn't have a good pronunciation himself, then what should he do? He should make his students listen to the tape recorder. Okay? Or the audio cassettes. Earlier, like when I was a student, the teacher would come and he would play the cassette. He would make us listen the audios, some small stories or some conversations, some dialogues. And then he would just stop the audio, okay, the tape recorder, and he would ask us, okay, what you understood? And we were giving all weird answers because they were all native speakers of English. The people from England or say America, and it was not very easy to understand them. So our responses wouldn't be right always. We wouldn't be able to make out. Now, you know, students who study there in the public schools or like who watch English movies and all, they can understand the native speakers of English very easily. Like my son, you know, he's quite good at English. You know, he understands the films and all just the same way as he understands the Hindi movies. And this is not just with him, it's there with most of the students, you know, who study in public schools and all. Their communication skills or their you know, I mean, they're very good at they're very good at the English language or the foreign language. Why? Because, you know, they have got a good exposure. They watch English movies, they read English novels, and they read English novels just the same way as we read the Hindi novels and all in our childhood. So this is a difference. Today's generation is good at English. Which generation I am talking about? The generation which studies in the public schools. If there happen to be, say, 40 students, 10 would be, you know, very good at English, and they would be able to communicate well, and even the native speakers English is intelligible to them, means they can very well understand it. Okay. Yes, this I have discussed all the 4 skills. I was just telling you that teacher provides what is the target? The target is to teach the native speaker like English. Native speaker like English. That means RP. Remember RP, received pronunciation. The Queen's English. Which English is considered the best English? The Queen's English. Okay, which is spoken in London. The Cockney. Cockney, Cockney. That English is considered to be the best English. And that was followed in my times, I must say, while I was a student. Now, you know, we have American English. Now students say speak American English more often than the English spoken there in England or say in London for that matter. So the language teacher provides students with a native speaker like model. By listening, students are expected to be able to mimic the model. You know, like you must have seen, you know, if somebody is pronouncing a word wrongly, then the teacher would pronounce it himself or herself and ask the students, okay, now to repeat after him or her. For example, there are thousands of words which have a very different pronunciation, which are not written the way they are, which are not spoken the way they are written. So teacher's role is very important. If he wants his student to be good at English, then his own pronunciation has to be good. Isn't that so?
Yes, sir.
So by listening, students are expected to be able to mimic. There's a kind of mimicry. They are just imitating. They are aping the way the teacher is pronouncing. So they mimic the model. And who is the model? The teacher is the model. Teacher is the model native speaker. He is the model of native speakers of English. This method is teacher dominated. Who speaks most of the time? The teacher speaks. So this is teacher dominated. They are the listeners. Students are the listeners. So this is a teacher dominated method. So therefore teacher's role is very important here in this method. In audio-lingual method, teacher's role is very important. Therefore, a teacher has to be very good at pronunciation. He has to have a very good pronunciation of English and a good knowledge of syntax as well. He should know grammatical rules also. Then only he can speak correct English, or he can teach correct sentences. He can utter correct utterances. So what is important? Teacher should present himself as a good model. Okay? He should be able to speak or use speak through received pronunciation. He should give the model. He should speak English the way it's spoken by the native speakers of English, the way it is spoken in England, the way it is spoken in London. But like this is something very ideal concept. It's not very, it's not attainable. It's not always attainable. Okay, we are Indians. We have a different culture, a different social milieu, a different setup. We speak English only in the classroom, right? We do not have exposure everywhere. So, like that model, that native speaker like model is not attainable. You can be close to it. So that is why what should we do as foreign teachers of English, because English is a second language for us, we should be close to that pronunciation. Okay, we cannot speak exactly like them, and if we speak exactly like them, then we sound artificial sometimes, and we are also not understood by our students. Say, if I say, "Where are you going, my dear students?" then it's okay. If I say, "Why kind, my students?" this would sound artificial to them, although this is the right way of speaking. But this can be, like attained, if you are really giving it a practice. So drills makes perfect, or practice makes perfect. Therefore, that's why you have, drilling here in this method, old circuit. So this was the teacher point. I have not written, I think. I should write it. This is 6 points. Teacher presents native speaker, write it like this, native speaker like model. Okay, like model. Now this is native speaker like model. Means he should speak like native speakers, or at least close to the native speakers. Okay. And again, since we are talking about audio visual aids and all, so what is important here? In fact, language laboratory is important here. Language laboratory. Yes, I can write here. Focus is on, here in this method, in the audio-lingual method, focus is on language laboratory. Do you have a language lab in your college? Focus is on language laboratory. Do you have a language lab? Yes?
Yes, sir.
You have? Okay, good. And what do you have in that language lab?
Visual aids.
Visual aids, okay. Audio visual aids, you may say. Can you tell me what visual aids do you have in your language lab?
Projectors, computer.
Okay, you have projectors and computers. Computers weren't in vogue that time. Okay, so they were not a part of audio-lingual method. But today they are, so we can very well make use of laptops and computers and consoles. We have headsets and all. Is it not? We have got so many devices now. They're in the language lab. But this language lab gadgets were not known to them. Means they were not very popular, or they were not introduced. But they still, they were language. There used to be language laboratory, and language laboratory played a very important role in audio-lingual method. You could not teach through audio-lingual method unless you had a language laboratory in your college or in your university or there in your department, you may say. Because there is much focus on, say, use of tapes. As I said, if the teacher is not able to pronounce well, or say he wants students to listen to some, say, film clipping. Now, film clipping, dialogues were listened to. Like I remember in our childhood, we used to have tape recorders, and the movie Sholay was very popular, and people used to play the dialogues of Sholay there on tape recorder. And even now you watch say plays and dramas or say soaps on television. Earlier in my times, they were listened to on radio. On radio, only audio versions were available. So use of tapes or say visual aids, as I said, even projectors were there, of course. Means they were the gadgets which played a very important role, and say as an important teaching aid. They formed an important teaching aid. So requirement of a well-equipped library, or say laboratory, makes this method an expensive method, because these gadgets are not very cheap. They are very expensive. So one has to have these gadgets if one has to teach through this method, audio-lingual method. That's why this method becomes expensive, and it's not feasible to arrange for these gadgets in rural schools situated in villages. Okay, so these are the principles. We have discussed so many principles. Now we may come to the advantages of. Can you supply another word for advantages?
Merits.
Merits, right?